Okay, well, welcome everybody. As we do not currently have a quorum, we cannot approve the agenda or the minutes at this time. Corrected before, go ahead.
On the panel page where guests are on the Zoom, Deborah's name is not spelled.
AH.
Thank you.
Yes, okay,
So just want to be that correction.
we can fix it.
Thank you.
Of us,
The dead has arisen.
Welcome.
Oh, my friend.
welcome, Talia.
Hi, Joey. Cookies do you want?
So you are.
Hi.
Hey,
But your back is right in the middle of
On
the
the camera.
camp.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Ryan, can you give Kalia the signing sheet as well?
Okay.
Jay also gave his address, right? Don't they give his address?
Oh, no, I said he had a meeting until 1:15 that he had a conflict that he did not have prior, that this got sprung up on him this morning, so he needs to know it. Yeah,
Okay.
no happens. Another arrow back.
Okay, you're recording. All right, do you want to pause it for a second?
It's 5 o'clock.
No.
More.
Able to answers are not working today. Alex had to go through the same experience that I did.
Really?
But then we
Oh, the
got contractor.
Mine didn't work either.
Mine worked.
Oh,
Mine worked.
You were at four.
You are.
Different.
Okay.
Never worked.
Yeah, I have an email to the department. This I can ask and see if they could reinstate this.
And Trudy counts.
Discount?
Trudy gave her address, yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's 6. Is that a quorum?
Five, 6, 7, 8.
I'm sorry, I just heard my name mentioned, and you all keep on fading in and out. Andrew, you know how my phone works or whatever. So I'm
Trudy,
getting
we'll
about
let you know
half.
if we need you. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, but I just want to know what's going on because I'm getting about half of what you all are
Haven't
talking.
started.
So
13, 14. We have 14.
They're determining if there's a quorum, Trudy.
Is it 7?
okay, I will stay on. You can see my phone number on there,
Yes.
or my name or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it?
Because
We have
6, and Trudy would be 6.
right. All right, then we have a quorum. I'm down again.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I didn't.
And we do have a quorum. That's
No, we have 6.
five. Trudy would be 6.
Yep, we need one more for a
Yeah,
quorum.
we don't have a quorum. All right, so absent. Hopefully everybody can hear me. A lot to report as usual. So during the past horrific 472 stations were in service, including in the Rockaways and in southern Brooklyn, which is amazing considering how.
You're going in and out.
Wonder what's wrong with this thing.
We may need to switch to the phone and audio.
It's stuck on.
Hold on a second, folks.
Test, test.
Try it now.
Can you hear us now? Is this better?
You might have to raise your.
I can hear you, but not Andrew when he's talking.
I'm wondering,
Andrew, if you know what the problem is, because you know how my phone works, but it keeps on fading in and out. So I don't know if you know that I'm here or not here.
I'm here.
Okay. What now? You just one word, and then all of a sudden you're gone again.
No phone here.
Usually something right here, maybe?
Can you hear me?
I heard you somebody say, "Can you hear?" And then it went blank again, and then I just unmuted myself again. I am really trying, but this is not working. Hello?
Give it a minute, Trudy. They're trying to work on it.
Can anybody hear me? Because I can't hear you.
Yes,
Yes,
Trudy,
Trudy,
they
we
can
could hear
hear
you.
we can hear you. They are trying to work on it. They're working on it as we speak.
Okay, I will stay on as long as I can. I had said that I would be on as long as I can. I'll try to stay on. Okay.
Can everybody hear us?
us now? Is this better?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Okay. We will resume, or we will start over. Welcome to the February Transit Riders Council meeting. As we do not have a quorum at this moment, we will skip the approval of the agenda and the minutes. And we will begin with my report. During the past snowstorm, as I said earlier, all 472 stations had service. It was amazing. The snowstorm was horrific, but fortunately, it wasn't brutally cold the days after, and a lot of it has continued to melt. Including South Brooklyn and the Rockaways, which had massive amounts of snow, all service was given, and they had a special shuttle running from Euclid Avenue to both Far Rockaway and Rockaway Park, which was pretty ingenious, and those folks had, in some cases, better service than they normally have, at least on the Rockaway Park branch. So a lot of people are saying maybe you can do that service plan all the time. And I've also advocated for both A's to go to the Rockaways and the C to be extended to Lefferts Boulevard, but that hasn't gone anywhere yet. So, but anyway, service was good. Of course, the Long Island Railroad was completely shut down this time, similar to New Jersey Transit both times. But Long Island really was massacred by huge amounts of snow, and I think they made the right decision. And the next day, they had partial service running on several of the branches, and pretty frequently. And then, of course, it's all back, needless to say. Over 3,000 buses were operating during that storm, which is pretty amazing. And as you may have heard, the RTICs were removed from routes that had articulated buses. You know, the bending double-length buses and single-length buses were substituted because of the high winds and the ice on the streets and everything. Of course, those are all back now as well. Amazing job cleaning the stations and the yards and the depots. And once again, they utilized that ingenious method of not running expresses and running service trains, de-icing, snow removal, and maintenance trains on the express tracks to serve all areas of the boroughs that have service. Once again, unfortunately, Staten Island Railway was not in service during the storm. They got really blasted on Staten Island, needless to say. Lots of snow there, and they're still complaining. They haven't been cleaned on several streets. I see it on the news all the time. Yet, on Monday, there were over 1 million riders in the system, which is just amazing. New York does not go to sleep, does not shut down. It continues to operate, which is wonderful. Over 250,000 Access-a-Ride trips took place during the storm. That, too, is amazing. I mean, people need to go somewhere, and they're going to go. And we have to provide that service. And for the most part, the MTA really did that, which is great. Now, some not-so-wonderful news. There was a 6.1% increase in crime in January. Mostly that is robberies in the system. They are redistributing police in various places. Cameras are everywhere. So you're not going to get away with it most likely, but you will get caught. But that is not a great statistic.
They get granular saying, is it a borough or a particular area? No,
they did not. No, they didn't do that. Ridership continues to soar on Metro North and on the Long Island Railroad. The ridership numbers continue to be amazing, which is great news. And something that will give Lisa a lot of joy is it has been announced, thanks to the casino in the vicinity of Met's Willets Point area, that station will finally be made accessible. And Lisa has been advocating for that for many, many years, virtually at every meeting, I would say, in one way or another.
So that accessibility was part of the plan that Metropolitan Park submitted as part of their winning bid. And in fact, they need to make that station, the subway station, they only agreed to make the subway station accessible. They need to make that station accessible before the casino can open. So we've been actually working with some of the players, not the blackjack players or the craps players, but the behind-the-scenes players to see how we can perhaps expedite that. Obviously, construction can't start now, although construction has started in the parking lot at Citi Field to build a parking structure. So they've lost parking spaces, which will reduce the number of people who can drive, which is good. But people have to get there another way. So there's even more urgency to ensure that there's a way to make that station more accessible. And it's one of the most complicated stations in the system. At the same time, the Long Island Railroad station is a mess, as is the Passerelle. And as anybody who's gone to a tennis game, tried to go to Flushing Meadows Park, to go to the museum there, just tried to walk around. It's a trip hazard on a good day. Forget about it. if there's any bit of snow or ice, or if you have a mobility issue. So, and the ramp that you could conceivably use to get down from the 7 train is not really accessible. It's doable, but you take your life into your own hands. So, we're trying to make it to move faster, and we'll do what we
Does
can.
this imply that work will be going on during baseball season?
No. No, behind the scenes work will be going on. Design work is already in progress. Now, on the Long Island Railroad side, don't forget that during the Wrong Way Air Train, there was already funding that was set aside to make the Long Island Railroad station accessible there. But then, because of the multitude of agencies that are involved, not just the railroad, but DOT and the Parks Department, there has been nut and honey since that also went nowhere.
Wow.
So there's an effort that we're becoming more and more involved with, but that the MTA is also involved with to accelerate the connection, not necessarily between the two stations, but between making both stations accessible.
Yeah. Well, that's something to look forward to, because that area gets so many riders for a variety of reasons, and a variety of seasons too. So moving ahead, you may have heard the MTA has sent a letter to the feds demanding a restoration of funding for 2nd Avenue Phase 2 up to 125th Street. They've given them until March 6th before the MTA will take them to court, much as Gateway brought the feds to court for when that funding stopped. So this is important. The 106th and 110th Street stations, 116th Street stations, need this funding to move forward, and it is being held up, of course, for ridiculous reasons, for non-explainable reasons. They've complied with everything on hiring and everything that U.S. DOT has asked for. So there's just no reason to hold up the money, except that we know who's doing it and why they're doing it. So hopefully they will get that funding back. The customers count survey has brought in really amazing results. People are really happy with their trips, higher than it's been virtually in history. I mean, they're happy with service delivery. They're happy with cleanliness. They're happy. They feel safer in the system. I mean, all of these statistics in the customers count survey, which can be, I mean, we can reproduce the latest version of it, I think, and send it out. But
they sent a link out. We can send the link.
Yeah, it's really encouraging, and the service is actually better than it's ever been. I'm looking at the wait times, and thanks to the new electronic screens that are in stations, you can actually see, and I hear them talking how great it is to be able to see when the next series of trains are coming. And I've checked them against various apps, and they're very accurate. So people seem to be enjoying their ride, the delivery of service. There was a thing about delays, and yesterday at the meeting I asked, is this unexpected delays, or is this because of GOs, planned delays? And they were going to get back to me on that. They're going to send me that information, because they didn't actually answer that question. So we'll wait to see about that. But there's a difference between planned delays that, work is going on, and then things that happen, like doors are stuck and the train has to be taken out of service, or someone has an issue, a health issue, and has to be treated. So there are different kinds of delays. So, but that's really good news from the customers count survey. Yes, sure.
Does that include paratransit, or is it just New York City Transit?
It includes everything. Yeah, absolutely. They're very, paratransit was up too in approvals. So things seem to be going pretty well in that regard. Now, here's something that's, I think it's going to bother me. I don't know how everybody else is going to feel about it. They are talking about testing out in a month or two audio ads in the stations. You need to be able to hear announcements, service-related issues, audio announcements. they could be very loud. Some announcements on trains and in stations are way too loud. I report that all the time. But audio announcements, when you want to hear about service, I mean, we will see how that plays out.
But they've done it, it's not the first time. They did it, as Kara reminded us, when the Indiana Jones movie came out few years ago. That was their first rodeo on this, and then they did it again with Lion King, as the Post so eloquently pointed out.
Occasionally they'll
Yeah,
jump in.
but I personally would say that so many of the other air quote PSAs that they play are distractions from
Oh, I
the
agree.
service announcements that they
Yes.
do anyway.
There are some repeat announcements currently that people wish they did not have to hear.
I mean, train
Of course,
surfing is good, but some of the other stuff is just,
yeah.
Question for the alternative accessible announcements. I want to
Now, this is a way of bringing the MTA money, but we have not been told how much money.
I was going to ask.
Yes, we have not been told that, how much each advertiser will pay. If they had their ad flashing on an electronic screen, would that be a better thing? So you could just look at it if you're interested. But all of this is upcoming, and we will keep you posted on this. And I have one last thing, which is great, which Jamie Torres Springer, the president of C&D, announced. Finally, they're going to start work. I don't have the date yet, but they're finally going to start work on installation of CBTC on the 6th Avenue line. We have it on Queens Boulevard East, we have it on Queens Boulevard West, and we have it on Culver. But if you don't have it all connected via 6th Avenue, it's kind of not worth much. The trains will catch up if you don't have CBTC on their entire routes. So it is really great to hear that 6th Avenue will be getting CBTC. And that is my report. Yes.
When you mentioned the survey, I know Clea mentioned the accessorize, and when you mentioned yesterday about stations, and when I saw some of those stations, I was like, there's got to be a little more than other stations, like stations like in the south end of Brooklyn or north end of Brooklyn or parts of the Bronx where people are traveling more on the train, not just a regular customer, but an accessibility customer, since they added stations like an accessibility.
Yes, they've got a great contract going. They're making stations more accessible at a much faster rate than they ever did before. They're saving money because contractors are bidding on 3 stations together, and it's all working very well.
Chris, one thing that Andrew asked about, as did Neil Zuckerman yesterday, was for a deeper dive into the details of the survey. And it's a lot of pages, but I think the board was promised to get them.
We were promised, yep.
Stuart, one thing I thought of you about was that the satisfaction with cleanliness of stations it went up like 5 percentage points. So that's obviously before the snow and
I've moved on to rail cars.
But it did increase a bunch.
When you were away, I had said at the meeting there was an appreciable difference down here at Fulton Street, West 4th, some of the other stations that I've mentioned. But I had a question to comment on. Something that we observed years ago, there were frequent elevator and escalator outages. So even though they're adding more, I think we still have to look at the same time whether the outages and the ability to timely address them have improved.
We can look into that. I have heard announcements on trains, in fact, when an elevator is under work or being replaced or something in advance, and they can tell you where the next accessible station is.
I've never heard that.
There's an app.
I've heard that.
You can look it up in the app.
There was signage on the F line recently now. They're doing the Smith Main Street and
oh, yeah, the replacement of escalators
right.
at the highest station in the Western Hemisphere.
There's
Yes.
lots of announcements.
Oh,
But the data
Right.
would be interesting
No,
to see if there's
we'll
any
have to
change,
get it.
you know.
So I've been using a rollator, which is it's in the other room, but it's been very eye-opening. I've talked to Khalil a little bit about this, but you get to an elevator and it's like, oh no, you have to go back down to your platform. It's okay, I can't go down to my platform because this is how I'm getting down to my platform to get to the train. So, having that announcement on my 7 train would have allowed me to go to Times Square so that I could have taken a 1 train all the way down here, instead of having to carry my rollator down the stairs. I can do that, not everybody can do that.
Right.
So having that announcement not being like surprise would be really helpful. And I have an automated system, announcement system on my train, so that would be super helpful. Or having screens on the system that tell you where the outages are. It was fixed today, so we'll say that in a 1-day outage is much better than they used to be.
One of those things that, as a New Yorker with a disability, you plan your trip ahead of time. You have to pay attention to those details, because I think we only have 1 station, am I right, Chris, in the system that doesn't have that middle elevator in Queens?
You talking about, Jackson Heights or Queens Plaza?
It's that, Jackson Heights, that doesn't have that middle elevator, where you have to take the middle elevator to the mezzanine and then up. We only have 1 station in the system now that doesn't have the elevator. We're hoping that we see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And more elevators from platform to street are
Right,
being made, which is
absolutely.
great.
Eliminate that middleman.
Yep, I think that's what they're trying to do at Metro.
Yes.
First, they have to find a way to build something in the middle of the street.
Yeah, because you will get stuck, right? You will get to your destination.
First
and-
one of those is Woodhaven Boulevard on the J. Yep,
Woodhaven, yeah, Woodhaven on the J.
Yes.
that was the first, yeah.
Am I allowed to?
Sure.
Sometimes when the alternative accessible route is possible, out of the way. Like, I'm in Brooklyn, and when Prospect Park Station is under construction, and they're telling people, go to Kings Highway, and then take the bus back.
Yikes,
It's like, it's not.
not even close.
Yeah, or go to Atlantic Avenue and take the bus. It's like, if you knew that in advance, you would have stayed home.
Right.
So hearing it on the train is kind of like, oh, I'd rather turn around and go home, but sometimes you have no choice, you gotta get to where you wanna go.
There is an MTA app that is being tested.
Yeah, but the alternative route, I'm saying,
Yeah, I mean, if you could see this before you even leave home,
yeah,
you'll have a much better idea of how to go to where you're going.
yeah.
You know that they have, like, I'm sure you're aware that they have, like, these little plaques
The plaques are there.
that are like
If
glued
this
onto
is
the
out,
wall.
this is what you
This
should do.
is what you should do, but
Yeah.
most of them are probably outdated at
Way
this
outdated.
point.
Well, there was one at, Woodside that said that if this elevator is out of service, go to Roosevelt, 74 Roosevelt. That elevator was out for a year, right?
Yeah.
So and it was paper signed too, and I said, you guys should really need to update this, because then what?
So
Then
let
what?
me ask you, who does the alternative accessible route? Is it a person in MTA that has a disability or is familiar with the fact that an alternative accessible route shouldn't equate to 2-hour travel time? Who is paying attention to? Who is responsible, who's accountable for it?
We'll check.
We could check, it's somebody in New York City Transit, they're well aware of this issue. Well aware of it.
Which unit is responsible for putting up signage if there's not a long-term outage?
It could be stations.
Stations?
It could be stations.
All right, because yesterday I was, one of our community offices, and got off at Franklin Avenue on the sea, and went about my business, but coming back, I didn't feel like crossing the street with the snow pile, and I said, all right, I'll go in outside, take the elevator up to the mezzanine, and go down.
Yep,
But the elevator going down wasn't functional. There was no signage.
no signage at all.
No. I mean, there's stairs, and they were shoveled, even though wire mesh is outdoors, but it was fine. For someone who would depend on it, there's no other alternative. There wasn't signage. So.
Yeah, and if, like Karen has just suggested online, you should be able to sign up for alerts, and you should get a text message or an
Right.
email that such and such is not working today, or is out of service for a week, or whatever. I think if you get these electronic alerts, I think that would really be helpful.
I do get those alerts, Andrew, when I have my main stations. Like, now I can add Sheepshead Bay and Kings Highway, because now they said Kings Highway, for example, since they're putting the new gates there, it tells me that this station will be closed for this certain time. They gave me the option to take the B49 bus, A, to Sheepshead Bay, or B, go to Avenue H, which
Is
Avenue...
this both entrances at Kings Highway?
Yes.
They'll both be closed together?
It's where the elevator is. It's the south side of Kings Highway,
Okay.
where the elevators are, and that's the main entrance, not the Quentin Road,
Got it, yeah.
not the North Kings Highway.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are reported that Transit 34 has been catching kids ripping the signs down.
What else is new?
Well, just to let everyone know, it's not just there, it's been almost the
We
other
have to move ahead.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to move backwards to talk about the satisfaction surveys.
Sure.
One of the things to keep in mind is that it's not a random sample of riders. It's only
Right.
people who received an email and chose to respond.
Exactly.
Or people who saw a sign and went to a website. And it's a lot less likely that a person with a disability is going to respond online.
However, you bring up an important point, which is it isn't just people that are disgusted with something who are filling it out, but it's also people who are.
We don't know who the people are who aren't
But
responding.
the fact that it's in the plus.
So it's a good for longitudinal analysis.
Yes. Yeah.
But we don't really know if 80% of people who ride the subway are
I mean, if
satisfied.
you're angry, you're more likely to fill something out than if you're happy. You might
Or
say, oh.
if you're angry, you feel like, what's the point? You know, there's been garbage on that platform forever. Why should I write it down? We don't know.
Do you have a particular platform you're referring to?
No.
Okay.
You already got it.
Okay. Moving ahead, Lisa,
We have a quorum.
we do have a quorum.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Can we get approval of today's agenda, even though we're somewhat into it?
I so move.
Second.
Thank you. How about the minutes?
With Chris's
Correction.
correction. Deborah's name is spelled incorrectly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
An approval of the minutes?
Andrews, make a motion with the correction. To be
Okay, is
approved.
there a second?
Second.
Terrific. All right, we're on track now. Let's go to Lisa.
All right, thank you. Well, first I want to thank everybody for, being so patient with my absence. I'm going to be absent again. But, in particular, I really want to thank Brian for, stepping in and stepping up, and Kara and Jess and, really, and of course Benji and Henry also, but for the staff for really taking over, the yeoman's work. Jack left on January 15th. I didn't come back until the end of the month, I think. Right? No, I came back at the beginning, but, it was in and out. But the staff really, was absolutely amazing and continues to be amazing. I'm going to be out for a hip replacement this time. And yay, starting the week after next, for a month or so. And it means that I'm not allowed to work, not that I don't want to. If you go out on disability, you're not allowed to work because you violate the terms of your disability. And then they will not pay you. So, sorry guys. So once
But you're
again,
allowed to work from home.
No.
Not even that.
Not for the duration of while she should be.
Wow.
No. No. So, once again, I will thank in advance staff for stepping in and stepping up. And it couldn't come at a worse time because we are right smack dab in the middle, once again, of budget season. Brian is wearing four shoes because he's stepped into Jack's also.
That's why he's stepping in and stepping out.
Yeah, right. We let him go away on vacation, Brian, that is, not Jack. And he's come back and he's well rested, but we have, he went away with two small children, so that is debatable.
He's rested.
He's rested. The priorities that we've discussed with all of you and that you've discussed with us, and I saw Karen when I was in Albany, and thank you, Karen, thank you. Me too. We're very well received by the elected officials that I spoke with. particularly, fare fares, one fare zone for, with the New York City on the railroads, our Rider Representation Act, and our other priorities as well. Henry designed some terrific postcards that we handed out as our love letters to transit riders because it was Valentine's Day. They might have gotten chocolate too, and some little heart stickers. But it was really, really well received, and things that we're continuing to move forward on.
The one fare for city limits on the commuter rails was well received?
It was well received. It was kind of seen as Karen, it was all gone by then, and I didn't actually eat it all. Although I did a very good job of trying. I did give you some postcards, which I hope you were able to distribute. Karen was up also and participated in a forum on bus ridership from Buffalo to Brooklyn, which was a big one. Not one bus.
What bus makes that trip?
But many different buses. Yeah. But there were, it was a lot to include and a lot to incorporate, but, so breaking through the clutter, not clutter, but making our own noise, I would say, is important, and that's, particularly this year when there's so much happening.
Maybe that bus stops at all places with a B.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Buffalo to Brooklyn to Baldwin, right?
No, just ends up there,
okay.
right? Yeah, might be Binghamton and there aren't two.
I mean, ridership has exploded thanks to City Ticket on the
Yeah.
commuter rails in the Bronx and in Queens.
Yes.
It really has, so.
So what this proposal
no-brainer.
does, though, is also right now there are 6 zones within New York City. So instead of, if you want my example that some people like and some people don't, if you have a job at both Yankee Stadium and Citi Field and concessions, and you get a monthly ticket to go back and forth, or a weekly ticket even, it's ridiculously much higher than it should be, than if there were one zone, because the difference in price to go from wherever you may live to the other station. There should be one zone, it should be one city zone, and you should be able to transfer to subways and buses like a Atlantic ticket and Freedom ticket concept.
So does that imply that if there's one city zone, the fare from Penn Station to Woodside would be the same as Penn Station to Little Neck?
Yes. Yes. For a weekly or monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The one-way ticket, city ticket rate was baked into the fare structure with this recent fare change, but they did not follow suit with the weekly and monthly tickets.
Right.
So you can pay the same for one-way travel. If you have a weekly, you can pay up to 6 different fares depending on where you live in the city.
And there's some very irrational fares baked into that structure as a result of it, like going from Flushing to Woodside on a weekly or monthly is more expensive than going from Flushing to the end of the Port Washington Bridge. So, it's a little odd.
More expensive than going all the way to Port Washington?
Yeah.
So
Oh, my God.
Very odd.
cheaper than just one stop into.
What's wrong with this picture?
So we're trying to fix what's wrong with the picture. And had an opportunity to speak to, we elected to also ask what's wrong with this picture. And also a number of faith leaders, and spoke to some people who are engaged in food poverty, food insecurity issues about fair fares, and that's very tied in, ensuring that there's people who have to decide between food and fares should never have to make that decision. So to look at better ways to integrate all the different people, all the different reasons, ensure that in my transit without having to make it a crime of poverty not to, or to have to decide to skip fare or to skip part of their life.
One thing to tell you that, as Chris and I did a workshop, recently, we noticed that a lot of, fare users are not familiar with the fare capping system, or paratransit users are not familiar with how they, connect. And so we find ourselves as advocates running around the city explaining to people, and especially access ride users, how fare capping works and how their trips on Accessorize don't apply or apply, or whatever. I think that should be a discussion maybe next time, that we should add to the agenda. Am I right, Chris? If we're having that, I think a lot of paratransit riders are having that issue. Understanding.
Yeah.
Fare capping.
Yeah,
And
no,
the fare fares.
it is confusing. There's now a new, or there will very soon be a new head of, HRA, that's the name of the agency. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna let her get her feet wet. Some, community, Allegheny, that doesn't manage that service, so it's, or a similar service, so, let's let her move to New York and then, work with her. Also, the, city council speaker has expressed an interest in, pursuing, increases in fares, because an increase was not included in the executive budget. But that is, to be continued. Jesse, we've had.
Karen's hand is raised.
Yes, Karen, I see you. Yes, sorry, Karen, go ahead. Jesse, I'll come back to you.
Okay, two quick things. One, when you were talking about fares, I'm a bit concerned about the mayor's proposal to raise property taxes by 9.5, whatever it is, 9%. That's really going to impact people's ability to afford transit. And so even though it's not our issue per se, it's very related and will affect affordability in New York. So that's just something that we have to keep an eye on and, probably help out or, as best as we can with organizations that are better suited to tackle that issue. And the second thing I thought about when you talked about fare capping, on the railroad, they have a fare capping, but they don't have the 10 tickets anymore, but they have fare capping. But it's only if you use electronic tickets. And I find that that's problematic. I don't buy electronic tickets if I'm out all day unless I have a place to recharge my phone. Because I run the risk I may not be able to make it home. My battery dies. And so I don't know. There needs to be, I don't know. They got rid of the ability to buy multiple ticket trips. But I don't think it should just hinge on electronic format. So I think that's something that still needs to be worked on.
Oh, we have a lot of issues with the 10-trip ticket, the loss of the 10-trip ticket.
Yeah.
Thank you. We did send a letter to the railroads about the loss, about some of the changes in the fare policy. It was an internal letter from Metro North Railroad Commuter Council and Long Island Railroad Commuter Council that detailed some of the concerns with the fare policies changes, and that included the loss of the 10-trip, included the 4 a.m. Window.
Yes.
Included the loss of the round trip in exchange for day pass, which you can get in paper form, I believe. Aaron, I carry a charger with me everywhere I go.
But you may not be able to charge. Depends where you are. Like.
Right. I mean, a battery pack. I carry a charger and a battery pack, but I know it's. Yeah. No, I know it is definitely a challenge. And the screenshot doesn't count.
Nope.
Also.
Nope.
And as far as veterans go, that's not part of the our legislation, but New York City Department of Veterans Affairs was looking at some legislation at the state level, and then the head of the Department of Veterans Affairs moved on. So, I don't know where that stands. We don't.
Some of them actually have been getting reduced fare cards, Omni cards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's probably disabled.
Yeah.
Right. But this is a different proposal. This was based on the gentleman who came to all of the meetings and who actually died at 96. Remember, he was 92 years old and he'd come to every board meeting. Yeah. Anywho, we are, I'm going to let Brian and Kara take over on this. We are involved in a number of different reports that are underway, that you'll get some updates on. One of them you'll see some updates on, and the other you'll hear a bit more about. Continuing to work to support congestion pricing and congestion relief in the following the 1-year anniversary. Aside from what you guys are going to weigh in on.
Fairfares platform, you discussed a little bit.
Yeah, we did send a letter to the mayor's office before he released the preliminary budget. Really expanded the groups of the number of organizations that have taken a stance on this to include some major unions, including TWU and SEIU 1199, some others, number of community groups that haven't weighed in on this issue before. So I think that was a really positive step, even though it wasn't included in the budget. So conversations will continue throughout the budget process, and we'll see if we can get what we can get in the council's response, which is the next step there. At the state level, some of our legislation has been moving forward. Our bill to reform the nominating process for Long Island Railroad Commuter Council passed the Assembly already this session, which is great, much earlier than last year, which is a great step. We just got to get it to pass the Senate this year. It's kind of flip-flop which part of the legislature it's passed, which has been very frustrating. So hopefully we can get both branches on the same page on that this year. And the Rider Rep Act passed Transportation Committee in the Senate, is now aging on the floor of the Senate. It passed the Senate last year, so we think it's very likely it will pass again. Hopefully again sooner this year than it did last year, so we can finish getting that one across the finish line in the Assembly. And we had a good meeting with our sponsor, Assemblymember Dinowitz, when we were up a couple weeks ago, and think that would be a priority. Some good things moving in Albany for us as well, and more to come there. But those are the things on the legislative side.
And before I just turn it to Kara, I just want to say that we are moving forward with our efforts to fill Jack's position. Hopefully soon we'll be at least able to post it. It's a little bit of a black hole.
It's a process.
Yeah, it is a process, and we're not even sure what the process is.
Yeah.
But we're either ankle deep or knee deep into the process.
When you say soon, are we talking about within a month, or?
I hope so.
It's either ankle deep or knee deep.
Okay.
Maybe even up to our waist. We have no idea. But we're hopeful that they'll come back to us. We're going to come back to us if there's any questions Friday or Monday or yesterday.
Maybe this Friday.
Maybe this Friday, but yeah.
Friday.
Pick one.
Yeah. So that's where that is. Kara?
Yes, so for research update, I won't go into too much detail on the ridership report because that will be the focus of our presentation shortly. Thank you, Stuart. And so there are two reports on the brink of release. One is this ridership report, but second is a report that Henry is working on that we've mentioned in the past about signage and wayfinding around the system. Henry, we've asked a couple of times if any members have any kind of signage concerns, things that they would like to see around the system, if there's any confusing intersections around transit generally or anything that you'd like to see. But we're trying to think of some ways to more formally request that kind of feedback from you all. So we may be working on some kind of a form or question-based input process for you all to submit as you are writing around the system, just ways that you would like communications shared.
Right, that's why if there's a form, you can put it in. That's it, it's easier to say what you don't see than what you do see.
Yeah, I got totally lost somewhere. Like on 34th Street, and I don't remember.
Yes, next time that happens, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're looking for right now. Henry's doing some really beautiful mock-ups of ways to improve signage And so we would love some examples of very confusing intersections like
Do
that.
you remember what station?
No, I don't at all. I was somewhere, I don't remember.
Henry, is your project
Oh,
strictly on transit, or is it on the railroads as well?
Get everything.
Most of the early work I've done to prep for this is in
Transit.
subways,
Okay.
but very much open to talking about the railroads and buses. Right.
Buses is a whole nother story.
Yep.
Yes, especially connections between the different modes. We're looking at that. Really anything that's confusing in transit, and we're going to narrow down some recommendations. And the flip side, Sharon, this may be particularly for you, but anyone else who has ridden transit in other places, we're also looking for best practices. So if you have been to any other transit systems, I know, Michael, you've mentioned some of the courtesy signs on subways, things like that, just riding around other transit systems. If you see anything that's worth bringing to the MTA system, we're also all ears for those, and we'll be circulating some more formal ways to submit your feedback or photos that you've taken, or just times that you've remembered being particularly lost in transit. That report that's in development right now. Don't have a set release timeline on that, but we're still looking for feedback from all of you.
You're only talking about existing signs. You're not talking about anything electronic, correct?
Electronic too. We're even looking at the app.
I mean, there are many places where the electronic countdown clocks in stations are not functioning, which I report whenever I see one. You're not referring to that. You're referring to incorrect or not understandable signage, right?
Or where the countdown clock should be. When I come between the 7 and the 4 and the 5.
Exactly.
It tells you where the next 7 is, and you just came from it.
Yep.
Or it tells you where the next downtown 4 or 5 is, but you're at the uptown, or it only tells you where one is, and they should put another one in.
Yep.
And we did a tour with
that.
Sarah Meyer there, and there was part of the problem was where the electrical conduits are, but they redid the station to fix it. It's not that hard now. I think they have much better approaches to fixing that stuff. So, but if we, present a suite of ideas, I think better than not. Sharon remembered something.
no, and this is only subway it's not Metro North and Long Island.
No,
It can be.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
right now we're in the information gathering stage, and so depending on where we see the biggest need, we will
Huge
incorporate that.
Metro
Yes, you
I would
mentioned that with
definitely
Southeast.
like to shape some of the recommendations based around specific issues that guys come rather than it just being my own bias. How I navigate the transport is going to be.
I had an issue on my way here. I got off the train at Atlantic Avenue
Oh, that's.
because I needed to use the restroom.
Uh,
And I know there's a restroom in the Long Island Railroad little corner. And it's permanently closed. I mean, it's closed long-term. And not only did it not tell me where the nearest bathroom was, the Long Island Railroad staff didn't know if the bathroom on the Pacific Street side of the station was open.
No, because there are two different
There's two different-
worlds,
Right,
but there are
there's
also
two
two different
Yeah.
entities, the
Right.
Long Island Railroad and.
But if there's a closed bathroom, that's closed for more than an hour. Or even when it's closed for an hour, there should be a sign on the door, your nearest port in a storm can be found, it would help some.
Yeah.
people.
And
Yes.
one of the things I've noticed, Henry, is you're on the M79 SBS bus. It lists next stops, and for Lexington Avenue, it says number 6 train, but it doesn't tell you that it's at 77th, not at 79th,
Oh,
Yes.
and it should.
So we will, thank you for those specific examples. That's very helpful, and that's exactly what we're looking to gather feedback on. And we will send around a way for you to keep thinking about it and then formally submit some specific examples in the coming weeks. Exactly what we want to incorporate.
Sorry. One thing I know that, and I know Kalia and I, as well as Michael Reen, as actor, is also chair.
Yeah.
In the past, we've been also trying to work on accessible, as I mentioned before, accessibility signage.
That will be a major part of this as well.
Yes, because
Definitely.
last time Clea and I worked on was 34th Street Harold Square.
Yeah.
Because there are times the signs are up there, like
Yeah.
They're up there and down there, and you have to have
Thank you.
eagle eyes.
Yeah.
Especially if you're there, and it's,
Yeah, and the problem is, and there are some stations, like I know Sharon, you mentioned Grand Central in the past, the lighting. Yeah, and it's the lighting, and I did mention it to, you know, when I mentioned to MTA Accessibility, and Michael, I mentioned this, you were at the meeting, is since they've been fixing the stations where the 4, 5, and 6 is, the lighting, it's not, you can't see unless you have a flashlight.
you need searchlight for the signs.
I was gonna go say searchlight, but I wasn't going there, 'cause
I use that station every day. I have no idea on any day where the 7 elevator is. Because I get off and I'm like, every day, and I can't find it.
They move it from day to day?
They hide it.
No, they hide it,
It's
Andrew.
totally hidden.
They hide it.
It is hidden in an alcove.
Yes, that's a big problem. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're looking at. We're looking at examples like, at J Street, they had piloted ways on the ground to direct you to different transfer lines, things like taking advantage of
Benevolent.
floor space and
That's a
side
good
space.
point.
Henry's looking at all sorts of things.
Where there's a subway station and upstairs from the station, there's an active bus route, they should have signs telling you the route and what exit, you know, it's southbound such and such, or northbound or eastbound. They should have those kinds of things, so you get good interactivity.
Sometimes would be great too.
I've seen that, very few stations.
Very few, I've seen it too,
It's at Marcy. They have it at Marcy, but maybe because Bridge Plaza is there.
maybe.
Yeah.
That's a big bus,
Mhm.
yeah.
Someone on the screen was talking about countdown clocks.
The bus,
Absent
yeah.
by DOT.
Yeah.
However, we still may want to weigh in and say that it's not clear if there's an issue at your bus stop, who handles that?
Yes.
I have seen those countdown clocks frozen in time for a month with the exact same numbers, and I reported it to Frank, and Frank got in touch with DOT, and it was fixed within a day.
Yeah.
But you should be able to call exactly who to call them to and the number and.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be great if right on the bus, if on the countdown clock, there was a number that you could call.
Out of service.
See a problem?
Yeah.
Please report.
And that's actually a very complex issue we've learned lately because Con Ed is also involved in that because it's a power issue. There's, that's a great point, and we will talk in this report about interagency.
Good, because during the snowstorms, I'm gonna say it, but, who's responsible for which section of which section, okay? Who's responsible for the bus stop? Who's responsible for the curb?
Yeah.
You know, who's responsible for the train? You know, are these organizations having conversations with each other, you know, about making sure there's consistency? Because yes, the buses were running, like you said.
Yeah.
But who's getting on it? I'm in the middle of the street waving down the bus.
Yep.
That's
You
what
know,
people were
I'm
doing.
That are doing that.
I'm a mountain. Oh, yeah, yeah. I promised our
You gotta
president that I
stand in
would
the
not
street.
do
You couldn't
my
get through the
famous Dukes of Hazzard.
mountains.
But, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. I have to. Got it. All 4 wheels off the ground. You know what I mean? It's impossible not to do. So it's very important, for those agencies.
You need a snowplow.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
If you
they
could,
don't have some
maybe
little
like
in front of it, but it's
No,
just
so-
the agencies are
Just
not
make sure it's a heater on it.
connecting with
and it
each
really
other. So even if you have service that's running, you know, I can look out my window and tell you the 362 might be coming down the block, but it's a pile of snow. So really, it's not just about the snow, but it's about everyday conditions of the agencies not talking to each other.
Definitely. Completely agree. This is, all very helpful, and we're going to continue asking you for feedback on this, and we'll circulate something digitally in the coming, days or weeks.
We have a very exciting report that we're going to present, but just let me call on Mr. X, and then we'll get into it. Mr. X. Can you unmute Mr. X?
He is unmuted. Okay, but now we can't, okay, now you're muted again. Now you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Well, we'll try it again later.
If you want to put it in the chat, then we will, then we'll hear it. but we'll try it again later. All right, on to our presentation.
May
Bert has a question.
may I make one comment?
Go ahead, Bert.
At some point, frozen in time is not the worst answer.
Point taken.
Okay.
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 Are we,
We're ready.
okay, so the second part of,
Benji, why don't you sit over here?
we're gonna,
Nope.
I was just gonna angle this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're
yeah,
front
let
and
me
center
just,
in the camera.
No. Oh, okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
we're just gonna
Okay.
zoom in like this. Okay, so the second part of our upcoming research agenda, coming out very soon, is the, what we may call the Stewart Special, ridership report, looking at post-congestion pricing ridership changes, which Benji has been working very hard on over the last few months. Sharing our screen. Yes. Jason. Okay. So, just to give a bit of an overview of what this report is and why we have been working on it, Stuart rightfully brought up about a year ago that obviously as congestion pricing has started, one of the goals of congestion pricing was to get more people out of cars and onto transit. And so the MTA has argued that it is a little bit difficult to track exactly how congestion pricing has impacted, can you control the camera? Sorry. Because so many people have ridden transit over the years, both before congestion pricing and after congestion pricing, it is a little bit difficult to map and track exactly how policies like congestion pricing can change ridership. Sorry, our camera went dark. I'm going to leave this up just start going. If you unplug it and plug it back in, it should work. Oh, we're back now. That's good, Jesse. You can just adjust the camera now. Should be back. Sorry, lots of technical difficulties today.
You can get that off the screen, right? So the whole screen?
Yes, we're just trying to fix the camera.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're back now. Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. Wonderful. And, yeah, that's good. We could just leave it like that for now. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. So, essentially, we wanted to look at ridership trends around the entire subway system between 2024 and 2025. Congestion pricing started on January 5th of 2025, so we used the entire year of 2024 and compared that to 2025, which Benji will go into more detail on shortly, to look at every single station in the subway and figure out where exactly ridership increases were happening. That I'll jump to is the MTA and our research both show that there is an overall 7.7% increase in ridership across the entire subway system between 2024 and 2025, which is great. We all know that ridership went down substantially during COVID, and it has been rebounding for up to about 76.5% of pre-COVID levels on average, with higher ridership closer to pre-COVID levels on weekends. But overall, ridership has increased substantially more, doubled the rate of increase from 24 to 25 than in 2024, indicating that congestion pricing definitely did have some kind of positive influence on increasing ridership. And
As did better service.
As did better service. And Andrew, your line you wanted to say, what's
Yeah.
driving ridership growth?
Less driving.
Exactly, less driving. We planned that, everyone. But you'll see in the upcoming maps that we'll walk through. But weekend ridership really is driving the ridership increase overall on the subway system, which is really remarkable. You'll see that there's some patterns on where exactly those ridership increases are coming from. But of course, changing work patterns where people are maybe working more remotely or choosing different work days to come into the office, and also the rise of discretionary travel on weekends and people coming back post-COVID are major factors. But essentially, the main takeaway of this report is that the worst-case scenario that the naysayers of congestion pricing were touting did not happen. People are still traveling around the city, congestion pricing is working, and more people are absolutely riding transit.
And they're riding so they can give Henry some ideas about bad signs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a
Question.
great ecosystem. Yes.
I don't want to get ahead of you.
Yes.
Did we see any distinction between time of day?
You will see.
Between what? Okay.
Yes.
The
The time of day.
Stay tuned.
So stay tuned. We looked at two different time periods.
Right.
We're starting with more general. So I'm about to jump over to Benji to walk us through. You'll see this. We're doing this presentation in a bit of a narrative where we started with the overall question of where did ridership increase overall, just raw numbers, post-congestion pricing, and then to get more granular on where and when that happened, we did some more granular maps that Benji worked on. And let me just adjust this so that we can see them.
Yeah, so our first map here is going to be the ridership changes for every single station across the entire year of 2024 to 2025. And so this is very high level, all the rides at that station throughout the entire year. System-wide, the average was 7.7%, which we already brought up. I'm going to be saying that number over and over again throughout this entire presentation. So keep in mind that 7.7% because we used it as a baseline to compare ridership growth from other stations. So you'll see the smallest, lightest dots are starting at 7.7% and going up. And for total ridership growth across the entire year, we had almost 40 stations across the system see more than 20% ridership growth, which is a lot of riders. Specifically, those are clustered around the 7 line in Queens, around the stations near Broadway Junction, in East New York, and in the East Bronx. So there are a lot of really interesting patterns that are kind of emerging from large ridership growth. But in this map and all the other maps, we're using, again, the 7.7 as a baseline to highlight the stations whose ridership growth is really above and beyond the rest of the system. And so that's why we're doing that.
And if I could just jump in, that means that if you see a station, you'll notice that not every single station obviously is represented on this map.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean that they lost ridership. That just means that their ridership increase was less than the overall citywide average.
Yeah.
So they could have increased 5%.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, one methodology point just to bring up is that this is looking at the percent change in ridership, which means that stations like Times Square, for example, in Midtown, a very large volume of riders would require a much larger increase to show a really substantial large purple dot on here. So that's why it's showing not the raw number of new riders, this is showing the percent change.
Yes.
How do we know that these nice increases are strictly from the beginning of congestion pricing, like they didn't start in November of 24, for instance?
Great question, and that we are going to get into in just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
One just thing to note as we present these maps is that we are looking at ridership trends. We are hypothesizing about why ridership may have changed at many of these stations, but there are a number of factors that could have led to that. Congestion pricing is a major one. If there were GOs or major work outages, or service outages, that may have impacted ridership, although Benji's analysis aggregated and averaged the entire years of 24 and 25, which smoothed out some of those bumps and major outliers, but of course, those things still did happen. You'll notice on the G line there were major outages, of course, the summer of 2024, so that may have accounted for some of the increases in ridership on the G in particular. But because we're looking at overall trends, we are trying to just present the data as is, and this is the most general of the 4 maps that we were presenting.
Okay.
And we'll zoom in a bit.
So, my eyesight is good, but the A line, that's Howard Beach.
Yes, Howard Beach, JFK.
And then one other question.
Yes.
On the 1, 2, 3.
Here.
Yeah,
Yes, the Upper West Side.
what is that station?
This is
79th and 86th.
Yes, correct.
Just outside of this.
Yes.
It's worth noting that we'll have a searchable table on the
Yes.
report where you can look at the specifics for each, every station.
Yeah, not just the ones
Yeah.
on the map, every single
Yeah.
station, you can look up the station name,
And
and
we
it'll
have
show
that,
the exact numbers.
exactly. We have that pulled up. Once we finish the presentation, we can
Mhm.
walk through if there's specific questions about it.
Briefly asked about those two.
Yes.
Maybe factors other than congestion pricing, or maybe
Exactly.
congestion
Yes.
pricing. If people coming from the airport thought that in some way they'd be impacted by additional charges through a cab or through, even though it's not the full amount,
Exactly.
they have deferred their decision.
Exactly.
Or encouraged their decision, rather.
And growing tourism in New York City is also a huge factor
Right.
in this as well, especially at Howard Beach, and a lot of other stations, which, there's a specific station we'll get into, about that a little bit later on.
Before you do that, is there did you look at the possibility that on some of these stations, guards were placed at the turnstiles and exit gates, and that could have affected the use of that, getting more people to pay, showed a big increase in that station?
So that is another, that is one of many factors that we are addressing in the full version of the report that is soon to come. The fact that, again, we're looking at the data and trying to draw conclusions from that as to why ridership has changed, improved over the year, and fare enforcement is one of many factors, congestion pricing is one of many factors, service outages are one of many factors. But as we zoom in on some of the data in the future maps, you will see that there are conclusions related to congestion pricing that can be drawn. But of course, just to be good data analysts, we want to just be thorough in disclaiming that we are hypothesizing about ridership. We are not trying to exclude any number of factors that may have led to ridership changes.
And I'm going to say that we're on map number 1. So I know that everyone has questions, but let's get through the presentation and then ask questions, because I know that, Karen, you have a hand up.
And I'm waiting to.
A hand up too. But let's get at least through, like, map number 2. So, let's do more maps and then we'll move on. Okay.
All right. Again, keep in mind the 7.7% growth, that is the average across the entire system between 2024 and 2025. That's the baseline for all of the maps we're going with. The next map, please.
Next map.
So this map is, the last map was the full entire year of ridership. This is just looking at weekends only for the 2024 and 2025. And there, you'll see on the map here how, there are many more stations that are just even placed on the map because weekend ridership grew much faster than the full year of ridership, indicating that more people are taking rides on the weekends, or the growth in that is more on the weekends than it is during the weekdays. And you'll also see that the table on the left there is a different metric just because there were so many, the ridership on the weekends was so large that if we had it on the same scale as the previous map, it would have been totally blown out. So it's starting again at that 7.7%, and it goes all the way up to 40% and above. We saw 20 stations in the system that saw over 40% growth in weekend ridership between 2024 and 2025. And overall, weekend ridership grew by 9.4%, which is significantly more than the 7.7% for the entire year. So this is really indicating that a lot of people are taking more discretionary trips over the weekend, and that is a large source of the total ridership growth across the entire system.
And just to emphasize the fact that there was a weekend growth in ridership of 9.4% compared to the average of 7.7%, that indicates that the weekend growth in ridership is really dragging up that average, and that is quite substantial from a data perspective. One notable tidbit that Benji found in the data, again, this map is showing the percent change in ridership, but if you look at the raw volume of new riders on weekends in 2025,
the number one station for ridership volume growth in the entire system on the weekends, the Bedford Avenue L, which outpaced even Times Square and Grand Central. We've been saying Bedford L is the new Times Square. It is becoming a huge hub for, I mean, a lot of things, but tourism is one of them. Accessibility is another.
and notably it is
Bedford L is really a big growth.
Yes,
Bars and restaurants.
substantial.
Bakery.
Yes, there's a lot going on there. That's another example of we don't exactly know why that is happening, but it is notable that it is also it is the final station in one of the non-Manhattan boroughs before you head into the congestion relief zone. You'll see also that High Street on the ANC had quite a substantial increase in ridership, and quite a few of the stops that are just outside of the congestion relief zone did see major increases in ridership on weekends in 2025. So some interesting trends.
Are you only looking at numbers? Did you interview people who were getting on the train and ask them?
This was only looking at numbers. This is a quite data-focused report.
We wanted to get a high-level view of what's happening here before we even think about getting into the weeds.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
But we will not rule that out.
Absolutely not.
In the future. Sorry. And just to jump to the next third of four maps.
Yeah. So this map is looking at ridership on the weekends to the congestion relief zone. Specifically during the hours when congestion pricing is full price on the weekends, which is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so this is also a huge, a lot of growth to the congestion relief zone on weekends. Not nearly as much as the entire system-wide on weekends. So rides into the congestion relief zone on the weekends grew by 7.5%. Which is a little bit below that baseline, which indicates that more people are taking trips not into the congestion relief zone on weekends so they're going just, Brooklyn to Queens or like staying in their borough on the train, things like that, which is a really interesting ridership pattern. The MTA has been talking about this for a while, about weekend and discretionary trips on the subway is a big source of the growth here. But again, we had 22 stations that saw over 40% growth in ridership to the congestion relief zone on weekends between 2024 and 2025. Is very substantial. And
just a couple of interesting tidbits here. It's notable that you'll see that the A train in the Rockaways saw substantial ridership growth in 2025 into the congestion relief zone, despite there being a major A train GO with the repairs to the bridge over there. So that is quite notable. You'll see again that a lot of the stations directly outside of the congestion relief zone saw some pretty major increases in ridership. But generally, there are many stations that saw above the citywide average growth in ridership on weekends into the CRZ, just about on par with the overall average of the 7.5% is just about on par with the overall average of 7.7%, but it is just slightly below that average, showing that people are absolutely still riding and riding at higher rates into the CRZ, but they are riding to a greater diversity of areas in the city, which is a great sign for the city and the post-COVID rebound of the city overall. And then finally,
the last map here is daily rides into the congestion relief zone during the AM peak. So basically, how many people are commuting into the congestion relief zone on an average weekday. And so we looked at the growth for that between 2024 and 2025, and we saw that this was actually, out of the four maps, had the lowest growth in ridership, 7.1%, which that's still a huge amount, but like I'm not trying to, push that away, that this 7.1% of growth in ridership is massive, but it is the lowest that we've seen so far, kind of again indicating that more and more people are doing discretionary trips, not during commuting hours, and not always into the congestion relief zone.
Can I just jump in there really quickly? One thing that's notable about that is, as we all in this room have known for many years, a lot of the congestion pricing naysayers were saying that people won't be able to commute into the CRZ anymore, but we've all been saying that people have always overwhelmingly commuted into the congestion relief zone using transit. The reason why there is not as large of a percent change increase in trips into the CRZ is likely because people were already doing that during the mornings between 5 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. So, of course, there was a pretty major increase of 7.1%, as Benji noted, but because so many people were doing that already, this percent change increase is slightly lower than the percent change increase, say, on weekends, for example. But there are still some major takeaways that Benji can highlight with the dark green stations.
Yeah, the dark green stations saw ridership growth, daily ridership growth into the CRZ during AM peak, saw growth over 20%, which again is massive for a morning commute. And that was, again,
Monday through Friday, or?
Yeah, Monday through Friday.
5 to 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, which is the MTA-defined AM peak hours. And you'll see this cluster around Broadway Junction on the AC, JZ, and L train.
Downtown Brooklyn.
Downtown Brooklyn. Again, you'll have to be a little bit, take the G train with a grain of salt because of the closures in 2024. That would make the growth look better than it may actually be. And again, you'll see on the 6 train in the Bronx a lot of ridership growth. And again, also in like downtown Queens, Long Island City, saw a lot of growth in that.
And Benji noted the G train. Overall, there are, as we all know, far fewer GOs and planned service outages during the morning peak. The weekends had a few more outliers caused by GOs in the data, but overall, the AM peak data is much more focused on, or I think it's easier to draw takeaways because of congestion pricing during the AM peak period because there were fewer GOs, excluding the G train. Again, High Street on the A&C is very notable in my opinion. A lot of the ridership growth in downtown Brooklyn. You'll see also a lot of the stations, this time directly outside of the CRZ, saw some pretty major increases in ridership. Andrew noted yesterday, Washington Heights. And these are stations where, again, we cannot draw direct conclusions from this, but we can hypothesize that maybe people in a lot of these neighborhoods who may have driven before may either be walking or driving to their nearest station or getting there somehow and then choosing to take transit in more regularly to commute. There are definitely some interesting takeaways to be made here that we will dig into a bit.
And kind of on that same note, another like outlier that we've seen had a lot of growth is Canarsie on the L train at the very end there. That was actually the station with the highest ridership percentage growth. And so that might be a data thing. We're looking into that with the data people because it's a 300% growth in ridership over the last year, which seems a little out there, but we're figuring that out.
Jess had hypothesized that may have been due to a change in the fare array, fare enforcement.
You used to walk from the bus train and
Straight in and no one would.
and now you have to swipe.
So that most likely that's an example, as Andrew asked earlier, of where fare enforcement or changes in the fare array may have led to an increase in ridership. This is the MTA's open data sets that use swipe and tap data.
Also, could be the new housing. We were looking at that too.
Housing is also a major potential factor in ridership.
It could be people also deciding to mode switch from driving to getting on the subway over there, because that is the last stop on the L train.
You know you're getting a seat.
So, very, very true.
Exactly.
Which is a valuable thing on the L train, that is for sure.
And then just
getting a seat.
Getting a seat at the end of the And then, so these are the four, wonderful maps that Benji has worked on. Just to put a few side by side, these are the same exact maps that you just saw, but just to show the comparison, this is the, weekend ridership maps side by side, looking at trips into the congestion relief zone versus overall changes in trips. You see a lot of the same stations, had major increases in ridership, but this just illuminates where people were going.
With the Rockaways.
Yes, the Rockaways, that's interesting because that essentially indicates that much of the ridership growth in the Rockaways was directly going into the CRZ on weekends. So that is, I think we can do some digging. I think that could have been housing, that could be people in the Rockaways working in the CRZ on weekends.
Going to Playland.
Wherever they
Because that's what that stuff is.
One takeaway I think that Benji and I were discussing yesterday is that this kind of high-level ridership data almost leads to more questions than it does answers, because you can zoom in on almost any individual station and hypothesize about why ridership has gone up or down at that station. Again, we're looking at high-level trends, so we are not going to go into depth on any particular station in the final report, but we do think it's interesting and can lead to some future research that we will be doing.
I'm just curious, the west side.
Yeah, I have no idea
What would that?
why 79 and 86 are showing those kinds of massive.
86 Street was closed for a while, right?
Right. So that could have been,
But that's far west.
B and C train had some, we're not stopping.
Well, there were some weekend geos when there's no B, but there was no C, there was no local service on Central Park West, so that would account for some of the, number one.
I believe it also increased
There's
on
also the
overall.
bus stop at
so
86th Street was down for a
that's
while.
AM peak. That did also increase during the AM peak as well, so that would not have accounted for, there was a weekend geo.
Exactly.
That wouldn't show up there.
On the AM
So that's
peak
a great question.
one as well, Andrew, you brought this up yesterday, but you'll see on the AC line in Washington Heights that there's actually very little growth to the central business district on that line, even though it was been a big fear about New Jerseyans driving in and parking and immediately hopping on the express to avoid the
that community board in Washington Heights was looking for residential parking permits because so many people from New Jersey were driving in, parking and taking spaces, and then getting on the Express A train.
And that may be an example of anecdotal evidence versus numbers-driven evidence. Not that that's not important, of course, but the numbers show that there was not that
And we can
massive.
sign cards, anecdotally yours.
You can always do that if you like.
I didn't ask this at the very beginning, but thinking about this, did we or could we take a look at express bus ridership? So, for example, if New Jerseyans were parking in Staten Island and hopping on a bus to continue their journey into Manhattan, or people from Westchester, it would be interesting, or even the express buses from the, from Long Island or Queens,
Yes, that's a great.
That would be interesting. I'm unsure if the MTA publishes any data on express bus usage.
Riders, we don't.
I don't think I've seen it.
The issue with bus data, and you've also brought up the Long Island Railroad a few months ago as well, the MTA's open data portal most accurately tracks subway taps and swipes because it's so clear. They can just take the data from that fare array and publish it, essentially. It's a little bit harder to determine on express buses in particular where exactly people are getting on and off because they don't always scientifically track that. That's a good point, though.
A significant increase. We don't know the point of origin.
On certain lines. That, I believe, is out there in some way. If it's not, we are always asking for more data sets to be published, and we will ask for that.
Does DOT count how many people get on the ferry?
They should be.
Yeah, they should.
No, ferry usage might have gone up.
Most likely.
No.
But that's a great question as well.
Good, finish.
So
We will be in a moment.
we just
Okay,
have one
I'm just trying to
final,
make sure.
Yeah.
slide just to wrap everything up. Stuart had also asked recently, and it made sense given our conclusions about recommendations and what we were doing with this. Just a sneak preview into some of our recommendations.
7 is purple.
None of these lines are accurate, as you will notice. This is just a little, keep you on your toes.
I noticed.
Essentially, I won't read through every single recommendation, but the first few are focused on essentially using data like the analysis that Benji has developed to lead to targeted increases in service. In particular, on weekends, it's just very clear that weekend service is booming, and of course, GOs and planned work needs to happen, especially on weekends. But there are ways to make sure that we're managing those GOs, making sure that shuttle buses are trackable on the MTA's app so that people can still get around when there is that demand for ridership. There have been some great service improvements in recent years, thanks to Governor Hochul, on weekends in particular, but just in general in the operating budget, so continuing those. And then, of course, following the planned scheduled increase in congestion pricing rate as initially announced, because congestion pricing is, in fact, working, as all of the data has shown. And lastly, the final two, many of the maps did indeed show that a lot of the ridership growth that's happening around the subway system is in neighborhoods that have commuter rail, either the Metro North in the Bronx or the Long Island Railroad. You'll see by East New York and in Queens, many parts of the boroughs. And so this highlights the need for common sense commuter rail discounts and transfer options between the subways and the buses and commuter rail, as we have long said. Yeah.
Under number 3, I think you might want to add supplement demand for weekend service by speeding up shuttle buses and increasing service on parallel lines.
Great point.
I do agree with that, because speed has been nice, been mentioned at years past.
Exactly. And to that point as well, recommendation number 7 is increasing bus service and bus speeds. Look for Henry's CRT report as well. Generally, people are riding transit at higher rates than before congestion pricing and before or coming back to pre-COVID levels. And so it's important to increase service to account for demand around all 5 boroughs. Thank you, Sharon. And that is it. Thank you to Benji for doing some really great in-depth analysis. That was not easy data to work with, so just want to emphasize how exciting it is to be able to present these maps after about a year of congestion pricing.
It raises tons of questions and
Yeah.
tons of questions, but it's great to be talking about
for now, so that we can see whose hands are up. We also do have the in-depth chart if people have questions about individual stations. But this is just one plug before we go to questions. This is a report that will be coming out very soon, so it's not public beyond the preview that we've just given yet. It will be soon, along with a slightly more in-depth narrative. So if things were not gone into in too much detail here, they may be in the full report. Clarify that.
Can we answer Marisol? She has her hand up.
Yes, we're doing members first, so Marisol.
Hi, how are you? I think the report is great. I just wondered if there was a way to see if the ride increase has also been due to fares enrollment. I think you may have tried to answer that.
So this report in particular, we just looked at the overall ridership data, but the MTA does publish in their swipe and tap data what fare type people are using, and so that is absolutely possible, and that's a really great question. We've used that data. Benji made some great maps in the past also about where people are riding with fares. So we actually probably could just side by side, probably not right now, but look at the 2 maps and see where those increases are happening.
Yeah, I think it would help if you see that it's not, then you know where to focus the fares in those neighborhoods that really can benefit. So that's why I was wondering. I appreciate the report. Thank you.
Great point. Thank you, Marisol.
I always like to include a fares plug in our work, so.
Karen has her hand up too. Karen, I think you're the next member with a question.
Yes, thank you. So I was curious, how does this data support either the mayor's proposal for free buses versus some alternate plans where people are saying we should go back and look at unrealized subway expansion into areas that don't have transit? Does this either support either of those or not?
It doesn't.
I would say that overall, the takeaway is that there is strong demand for transit.
Yeah.
Right now, people are coming back to the subway at quite high rates, and so, as we always say, there is definitely a need for more affordable subway fares, as Marisol just plugged fair fares. This report does not lead to us taking a side on that particular debate. I know that there were some online arguments and reports coming out about buses versus investments in transit. I think we always say that we like transit investment of any kind at all times. But long story short, we're not wading into that in this particular report, but there is strong demand for transit improvements and upgrades in service on the buses.
Especially transit improvements that improve service during the weekends or for discretionary trips that aren't commuting into the congestion relief zone.
When you looked into all of this, did you also look at ridership on the commuter rails within the city limits or just subways?
Just the subways.
Just the subways, okay.
Just the
Because we know that that's grown.
Yes.
tremendously.
Yes.
Yes, that definitely did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the plug for that sixth recommendation of city ticket and expanding commuter rail fares. But just to clarify, this report, Benji used two really great data sets from the MTA's open data portal.
One of them is the hourly subway ridership data set, which shows how many swipes are tapped into a station per hour for the entire year. It's a great data set. It's absolutely massive, though. And the other data set is the origin destination data set, which basically tracks like a card or tap. So when you swipe in, that's the start of your trip, and then the next time you swipe or tap into the system, it assumes that's the end of your trip.
I was gonna ask you how you figured that out.
Yeah.
How you know where people were going?
No, it's an estimate.
That's
The chip we got in the vaccine.
Yeah. So that
that camera.
there's that camera.
Yeah, because there's no perfect way to know exactly where the person is going.
Yeah.
But it assumes that the next time you enter the system, that was the destination from your last trip.
Yeah.
Like that.
And this is the MTA's own data set, so we trust this more than there are some other slightly less scientific ways to measure that using like phone GPS tracking, but this is the MTA's official open data set. So
other than the congestion zone, is there any other?
Hello, hi. This is Trudy. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I kept on losing you and everything. I want to know if it's possible to get a written copy of the whole report, or are you planning on distributing that?
The report isn't done yet. But when it's completed, we will absolutely distribute it. Yes.
Okay. And the other thing is, I think I heard the last question I kept on fading in and out. I don't know why. But you're not considering people who take subways and buses. Have to take one or the other. You're just considering only subways, not buses, even though it's.
So the data set is subway focused because the MTA's open data portal more accurately tracks subway ridership by station.
Yeah.
So in terms of mapping, it is less scientific on the MTA's data side to track where people are getting on and off of buses.
In fact, the MTA does not publish that at all. It just tells you how many people have tapped or swiped on the bus line during any given hour. It doesn't tell you where on the bus line that is. So I would have loved a more comprehensive, like from all the different modes, to understand that ridership, but the way the MTA publishes data is just so significantly different from the subway to the bus to the rail systems that it's really just comparing apples to oranges at that point, when it comes to, like, ridership reports.
But we do acknowledge the strong need for bus service and investment in the recommendations because there is overall strong demand for transit. I think.
Okay, I've got to get off again, but I do want to thank you. And when I'm able to function like I usually do, I'd love to discuss it with both of you a little more.
Great. Thank you, Trudy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel better.
So our guest raised a point that leads me to one other question. So focus was the congestion district. Did we see any other area of the city as another destination or starting point of any great significance?
That is not something we specifically looked at because, again, we wanted to focus on congestion relief zone and commuting patterns to that.
Starting point.
Yeah.
No, the ending.
The ending
point. It's,
right. Meaning, did we see anything?
Yes.
Like if you started at Broadway Junction, did you go to Canarsie?
Yeah, or like, I totally get what you're saying on that. I will
was the airport, a key final destination.
Howard Beach JFK was one of the.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely a key starting point.
Start with that
end.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the end. Which was the.
We did not do that for the data. It would have been pretty hefty computationally to go through all of the different areas that each station goes to, because I think the data set is like 200 or 300 million rows long, which is quite a few to go through.
Happy to share.
However, just one thing of note, sorry to jump in, Benji. So essentially, the reason why Benji focused on looking at trips into the CRZ was because it was, you essentially, when looking at the data, have to choose a destination that you're going to look at.
Or choose a starting point you're going to look at.
Yes. But not to get...
The ask was about...
Yes, that was the ask. Just not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Benji is also looking at a future report, looking at using this data to look at ridership with the Interborough Express and demand there with current trips. So we are looking at using that data set, look at other kinds of destinations, but it is a beast of a data set. So we sort of have to start out with a focused question on where we want to look at trips either to or from, rather than just drawing conclusions from it.
Amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you, Benji, for managing the beast.
Yeah, I waited because I was waiting. I have to say that it was really great to see you guys mention the F line, but what I do see in ridership, even congestion pricing, is on the weekday time, even doesn't matter if it's morning, midday, or night, or even on a weekend, I do see, I have to sometimes on weekends I let one queue go ahead and it wasn't even late, the full train. And there are times on the D&N I'm seeing it crowded, even that too. So, and I do see when people are going to Staten Island, instead of taking the express bus, they go to 86th Street. I do see a lot more people getting off the R train at 86th Street. So I see them going to Staten Island from the other way. Instead of going to ferry, they're going through the 3 buses that are in Bay Ridge. When you mentioned Canarsie Rockaway Parkway, that should be even the most darkest color ever, because even when they don't pay the fare, everyone gets on the buses there, since you have the 82 SBS, 6 limited, if it ever shows up, or the 6 local, or the mysterious 82 local. And the reason I'm saying SBS, not saying mysterious, because that bus moves faster than all 3 of them. What I'm also hope to see, when you look at those numbers, and it gives the accessibility, like I know Clea and I have been mentioning this past already, and Michael Ring, we're seeing a lot more accessible people going on the train, praying they can get on the train, because it's more difficult now to get on the express bus, because not every driver has that issue lift. And the obstacle courses are still like praying is since there are now new stations now with accessible, how the numbers are gonna look. I just hope we can work on the near future for that.
Yeah, we will continue to monitor that. That is a great point. Thank you. And just one quick answer for Karen in the chat. This data uses both Omni taps and MetroCard swipes, so it's all in the same data set.
And like fares, every single legal way to get onto the system,
Every
is
fare
taken
mode,
into account.
But we do not have direct access to the Omni data sets. I mean, to the Omni data. Like, we can't say, oh, Karen, this is your account, so we can track
yes,
it.
it's
No,
not
it's not that, we
individual.
don't have granular access.
But it is down to the 15-minute period at every station, so it is
Yeah.
quite granular.
No.
Right, but
not
it's
individual.
anonymized.
Yes, it's anonymized and
Yeah.
aggregated.
So your data is percentages. I'm thinking about High Street that went up.
Yes.
In 2025, a lot of the buildings, the Watchtower buildings, moved into Dumbo. So how big, what is the number?
Well, that's a
Oh.
great segue into
Great
the
segue.
interactive table that we have.
I'll screen share it.
Because it could be
Let me
a number that represents how many
Over,
people.
over.
But Dumbo is
I'm just
York
gonna
Street
screen
Station.
share so
Oh,
that everyone
yeah.
online can see it as well.
Depends on where you are.
But, just to give a sneak preview into this wonderful chart that
And by the way,
Benji made.
Benji, there were a lot of GOs where the A and the C ran via the F.
Oh, yeah.
So this is just a sneak preview that will be in the final report. Michael asked about High Street. You can search any station. You'll see High Street had a total 27% increase in ridership, about 600,000 new rides.
Yeah, for the entire.
Weekends were,
25.
yes, weekends were booming. I think a lot of people go to that neighborhood for
Does your
fun.
data show hour by hour ridership at all?
Take the train
Like-
back.
The
So a lot of
data set
service
does, but
over there?
I had to aggregate that basically to
Okay.
get this,
Great.
these numbers. So yeah, again, for High Street, we saw almost 600,000 more rides in 2025 than we saw in 2024. 200,000 of those were on the weekends.
And there were some GOs where Clark Street was closed.
Yeah, that's,
So some people use High Street.
that could have,
More than
Yeah.
people moving in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or like
Lots of
Clark
issues.
Street was closed, things like that.
Clark Street was closed.
Look at Vernon Jackson.
Vernon Jackson, that had a 10.9% total increase in ridership over the year, quite a bit on weekends.
Yeah, and there's really no reason for that.
Yeah.
Unless
Because of
going to Long
because of
Island.
GOs or anything else like that, aside from the fact that that's where people wanted to go, or because of the fact that so much new housing was built there.
Yes,
Definitely.
Did we
I think-
say 79th Street?
79th Street, yes.
Which one?
On the one line,
Yeah.
so that
40% on weekends.
was really driven, but that could have been impacted by the GO. Total was, about 20%. So that is still a bit of a mystery, but it was
Really
not,
is.
the AM peak, we don't have that in this chart, but the AM peak data also showed an increase.
Yeah, but I mean,
Pretty
this
substantial, 650,000 new rides.
this table goes to show that like almost, 30 to 40% of all new rides at that station in 2025 were on the weekend, right? Which is again supporting this claim that a lot of growth on the transit system is the discretionary weekend trip.
Do you know why? The question.
No.
Oh, I
I-
know.
I-
To figure out why.
I haven't been in my car, I can tell you that much.
My wife
People
is
drive in just outside the CBD and park and then take the subway into Broadway or to
There's
see a
no
show or
place
dinner.
to park on 79th Street.
I don't know.
Good luck
I'm
finding
in Park
parking.
Slope.
I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with
my
that
wife
part of the
stops
city.
commuting during the week.
Yeah.
100% works from home. If she gets on the subway, it's on the weekends to do something.
Exactly.
Mr. X has his hand raised, if we want to
Yeah,
try,
hopefully it'll
give
work
it another
this time.
shot.
5 more minutes.
That's all right.
Mr. X,
And we can't hear them.
Been unmuted.
we can't hear you. You
Want to put
muted?
in the chat?
Again.
Maybe unmute
Um,
and then maybe.
Maybe if you type in the chat, unfortunately,
Yeah,
you were
unfortunately-
unmuted for a moment, but we could not hear you. I'm sorry about that.
There are next steps to go to the stations with clipboards and humans and ask people. Why?
Listen, we're happy to accept volunteers.
If you wanna volunteer.
I was
172
surveyed
stations.
when the unlimited card was new and I worked on University Place. Someone asked me once where I was going.
Yeah.
And I have a one-question survey. Where are you going and what is the purpose of your trip? And I actually just didn't feel like crossing streets in the rain. I wanted to get to the other side of the park.
Yeah.
That's reason number 5. Good.
Yeah. That kind of data collection is valuable, but extremely labor intensive
Yeah.
to make
Extremely.
major, unless we were to focus on one particular station. That is a major research undertaking that we are not opposed to in any way, but it,
I thought you were going to say not equipped for.
well, we could, I think that was not within the scope of this research project, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible in the future.
God knows I've done my fair share of canvassing on subway stations. I think, again, the focus of this report was getting that high-level understanding of changes before trying to go into any specific explanation.
Well, this has been a wonderful report, and the good news is ridership is up and continuing to grow.
Yeah.
And discretionary travel is up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will get you a copy. Brian, did you want to say something? And then
Yeah.
Chris and Michael, did you want to say something about
And
access?
a couple quick reminders. We're going to collect feedback on the new Fairgate arrays that have been going up around the city. So if you have any experiences with them that you'd like to highlight for us, please do. We redistributed the code of conduct for PCAC. I haven't heard any necessary edits or revisions, but please look at that. I'll bring it up at PCAC in March. And speaking of PCAC in March, we will be doing the vote on the PCAC specific bylaws in March. So we'll be, if you're not able to make it in person, we'll be asking for a proxy ballot from you, starting early next week. So please let us know if you plan on attending. It is
March 12th.
March 12th at noon here.
And if you can't attend in person, you can give an alternate publicly accessible address and attend virtually and count toward the quorum. But if you do not provide us with an address, it could be a library, it could be a park, it could be a street corner.
Coffee shop.
Yeah, coffee shop.
An MTA restroom?
If it's open.
And it's accessible.
Right.
That's true, yes, we could.
It could be outside of Fairgate at a train station.
Public park.
Yeah.
Or the proxy, as Brian mentioned.
Yeah, but we still would like a quorum,
No, we
and we
certainly
would
would.
like there to be a geographically diverse, opportunity for people to attend as well.
Okay.
For sure.
Old business?
Go ahead.
Because I know Clea and I brought this up, a couple of months ago. Can we invite Rachel Cohen, because she's been doing a lot of new things with Accessorize?
We certainly can invite her as
Yeah.
one of our speakers. Absolutely. Yeah. Any other old business? Any new business?
Yes, Andrew, Alan Flax, quickly. In a subway station at the turnstiles, I found on the floor an Omni single ride ticket on paper, and it's called Omni Ticket. And I was curious about it. Where do you get these things, and what do they cost, and how? And I called the toll-free number on it. It says Omni 877, etc. And the man there knew nothing about it. He said, "Well, that's issued by the MTA." I said, "Well, what?" But there's a single ride paper ticket. He gave me someone to call who says, "Well, it'll cost you $3 to get a single ride paper ticket, and you can only use it for bus-to-bus transfer." Do you guys know anything about this paper Omni ticket? And on the front it says Omni big, and then a little down below ticket.
Yes.
It's the single ride fare that's available in an Omni machine.
Mm-hmm.
It's also sold in bulk to government organizations.
And
They come in
I see.
and not for
What's sold in the Omni machine, how much
That's
does
correct.
it cost
It's for
you?
someone, and we discussed this at a prior meeting, that,
How much does it cost you to buy one at a machine?
$3.
$3, that's the fare.
There's a bit of a fee.
Plus the surcharge for the instrument itself, so
For
more than
paper
three.
one?
That's correct, and
Wow.
that was the discussion of my question when they were here the last time from the program. Why would anybody want to buy that? Not cost advantageous.
It's
So-
$3.50 according to the MPA.
Right, the service charge for the card itself. But it's
How much
not,
is it total, did you
not
say?
refillable, it's for single use.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
How much did you say, $6?
$3.50.
$3.50.
Right.
$3.50,
Go
and
into a
if one,
customer service center and talk to
Right,
them
the
about it.
question was, if you're advertising what the new fare is, okay, you're actually, if you choose that as your fare medium, you're paying more. So.
You sure are.
And Karen asked if it's cheaper in bulk. I believe that there is a deal worked out between the MTA and whatever nonprofit or government agency is buying them in bulk.
But it's not,
And what
like,
about-
it's by
You can buy
10.
it in bulk.
Yeah, no, as an individual,
They're in batches
not
of
buy it.
100 if you buy it.
Yeah.
If you're a qualified organization. But what you found, something that's dispensable at the machine, disposable, not for reuse.
right, and,
Disposable, dispensable, and despicable.
There you go.
Yeah.
well, it's interesting.
Single ride Metro card that was available.
I see. It's funny that the toll-free number on this thing, the guy said he knew nothing about it, and it's the MTA's thing. Well, it's really, so it's $3.50. And what about,
We're about to
and,
adjourn, Alan. Thank you for your comments.
what about senior tickets? Senior?
Alan, that's a reduced fare senior. You have to go to a reduced fare or customer service center to sign up.
Yes. Go to a customer service center, and there's plenty of them now.
Just have
Okay.
just have a picture ID, and you get it done, and you get the card. Bam.
Thank you.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second,
Second. Okay. Thank you all. Very interesting meeting.
Thank you.
see you in March.
Bye.